and welcome to Hope After the Landslide. Jackie Rose, Grieving Moms Finding Hope. And wow, look at all these beautiful faces that are sitting here on the screen with me. It has been a few minutes since we've been on here, and I'm excited to be back. And between summer vacations and people visiting and sinus and ear infections and stomach issues from taking antibiotics, I'm like, I'm a diehard. I keep coming back, just keep coming back. I just keep saying in Jesus' name, thank you, Lord, for giving me the strength, for healing me, and to be able to present in front of each and every one of you. So grateful that you guys are here. Welcome. Before we introduce the guests here, well, Lisa's not a guest, but she's a friend, but we'll introduce in case it's your first time. So please put in the comments where you're viewing from. Please put in the comments the name of your child. Deepest condolences and blessings to each of you that have lost a child, and especially those that are here for the first time and it's just happened, or maybe it's just the first time that you guys decided to come out and try to seek help. So super grateful to have you here. Again, it's grievingmoms.com. So again, tonight we have special guests come on, or we have over the years been on here for going on 9 years and having different guests, lots of moms sharing their story. And so tonight, well, Lisa has been my co-host for quite some time now. You guys are familiar with Lisa Didden. Lisa has lost her beautiful son, Christopher, and she has the courage to come out and spend time with me. But there he is. But my newest friend has been, I was just saying when we were praying to come on here, is her name is Majo, and I just love the name, and I definitely will admit that I messed it up, and she was so gracious and didn't correct me while we were talking, but she's like, that happens all the time. Majo. And I love that because I said, oh, just tell everybody it rhymes with Tahoe. She's like, oh, okay, we'll just do that. So it's Majo. Majo Birdsall. That's how you say it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a little background on Majo. Majo is a Christian therapist, certified grief educator, and Christian life coach. She is the founder of Building Bridges Collective, where she helps women who feel like they've never enough find feel like there's never enough to find peace and freedom without giving up their faith or losing themselves in the process. Whether you're walking through silent grief, navigating complicated relationships, or healing from trauma, Maho offers a compassionate space to feel seen, supported, and anchored in truth. Her approach is warm, I can affirm that, grounded and focused on lasting change. Welcomed Maho, and Maho is actually going to be a speaker in one of our breakout sessions at our upcoming retreat that is in October, the end of October in Phoenix, Arizona. So we have a waiting list. I think currently it is sold out, but can get on the waiting list. There's always going to be people that may have to cancel at the very last minute so that you can be able to hear what she has to say. So I gave Mahu some questions, but I'm just going to let her start off by sharing a little bit about her background and why she has gotten herself involved in this really difficult subject, to most of us as grief.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here and just be able to, share a little bit more about my story, but also be able to, talk about some of those things that a lot of times it's hard, right? And just complicated questions. So really looking forward to having that conversation. But when I think about grief, I think honestly, grief, it found me before I found it. I was seeing a lot of clients that were dealing with, navigating grief, whether it was loss of a loved one, relationships, even going through like miscarriages. And I just knew I had to do more. Like I needed more tools. I wanted to be able to be prepared and help them. So that's when I decided to join this certification course from that David Kessler offered. I know, Lisa, we were talking about that. And it was amazing. It was great. But what I wasn't expecting is that after a year of struggling in my fertility journey, I was gonna get pregnant while I was taking that certification course, and at the same time experience a miscarriage. So that's where I walked through my own journey of loss, and it opened my eyes to how isolating and invisible grief can feel. So as a
Ooh, I
therapist,
love
right?
that. Invisible.
Yes,
Mm.
Wow. Yeah, that's
It's
powerful.
an invisible pain, and is
yes,
it not? Yeah. So,
yeah. Which is something that I had the knowledge. I feel like as a therapist,
mm,
there was maybe like that knowledge, through not only my background, right, education and working with clients, but feeling it was such a different experience. And that's where this, I think, just passion to be able to join someone else's journey and actually like sit in the pain, right, and hold
mm,
space for people in pain became something that just really dear to my heart. And just, I think, even just seeing how like Jesus has been with me, right, like that has been so healing. That doesn't mean that the grief goes away, right, like the grief is there.
Right.
But it's just been this experience that I've think some days they're really, in a way, like, I don't want to say easy, but they just feel like I can just navigate the day
mm.
in a more grounded state. And there's other days that are really challenging, but and again, I think that's what led me to have a heart for grief. So that's why I'm like, well, grief found me
Yeah.
before I even knew it was something that was going to be so dear to my heart.
A couple beautiful, like, they're simple statements, but yet so profound. How grief found you, how it is like invisible. These are
Mm,
all things that are so true, but it just becomes something that we just walk with every single day.
yeah.
Just every single day.
You said something, I'm gonna butcher your name here. Ma Maho.
Mine's with
Maho,
Tahoe.
You
Tahoe,
got it.
Maho. I got it, Maho. David Kessler, he's written the books. I got the book here, Finding Meaning, and he says in his course that he had been, the expert, he was part of the stages, and that when his son died, he wanted to write everyone a letter and said, "I'm sorry, I had no idea." He didn't know how to even walk into the grief group. So what you say and what you represent and going through loss, it speaks volumes, and as he always says, the one other quote is, we live in a grief illiterate world, and anyone who specializes in that, I pray, and you're going to be a blessing to so many moms, so,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
if you can find meaning through your tragedy, somehow that helps you carry it.
Yeah.
And that grief is always there, but that Jesus part is one of our major building blocks that we build
Mhm.
around the grief,
Yeah,
that's how I see it. So,
absolutely.
yeah, so I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
I
oh, no,
just
it's
wanted
okay.
to, yeah.
No, it's okay. And I do think that, as we think about it, I always say there wasn't a big long line to get into this ministry.
Mm-mm,
There was like a very short line. There was like a line
Mhm.
for everything else, but not this one. But yet the Lord has said to each of us, her,
mm,
right? And what an honor that it is to be able to walk through this with other people, because it is something that people run. They run from. Okay, you guys, don't be shy. Go ahead and comment questions, things. All right. Well, Maho, I'm going to ask you to go through some of these questions,
Yeah.
and feel free to share what's on your heart. So, grief after the loss of a child is often described as a pain like no other. How would you describe the uniqueness of a mother's grief?
Mm. Yeah, it's such a deep question because, mother's grief is deeply embodied, right? There's so many layers. It's not just the loss of a child, but it is the loss of dreams, milestones, the future she was already looking forward to, right? Planning for, loving, right? So it is
Yeah.
such a complex type of grief, and it's layered, right? Whether her child was, a baby, a teen, adult, that bond doesn't break, right? And it's like the whole world shifts. Um,
mm.
so can't remember. Think I don't know if you guys know, but I think it was David Kessler or Frank Anderson. I can't remember, but it's like we grieve because we love.
Mm.
right? So like
Mhm.
that love doesn't go away, and it can actually make grief feel endless at time because there is still so much love, right?
Yeah.
So that's like really really tender, and it is sacred.
Mm,
Yeah.
And I think something that we were talking about, like it is often invisible for those who haven't walked
mm,
through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
I know just being here, with we were speaking earlier to we were just talking together, and I was saying, just about everything that is in our lives is going to be affected.
Mhm.
And so my dad and my sister are visiting here, and just watching a program, and just the program involving, and it was like I was telling them, it's the five, or the was it five college students, four
I
college students, so beautiful kids from Idaho that were brutally murdered. And knowing my story and how my son attempted to send his family to heaven, we're watching this, and the people's comments that they were showing on social media
mm,
through the show, and saying, there's the layer, or there's the trauma through losing their kids, but then they have to deal with the social media,
yeah.
and all the comments that were there that
Mhm.
just keep just adding on and adding on. And then
Yeah.
they'd say, what kind of a, you know, monster type person
Mm,
is this? And then it triggers me, because it's like,
Mm.
right.
well, my son attempted, but for different reasons. So
Right.
it's just like this. I call it the shadowed stowaway that's like on my
Mm.
shoulder all the time.
Maha, the thing is we're always processing the grief, are we not? And that's just one representation of it. You watch something, as Jackie may have mentioned, I just got back from France and I was anonymous. I could be me and no one knew who I was, but that grief was with me, and all the little things, seeing a mom hold a little boy's hand walking down the street, or just seeing a young man who would have been my son's age now. I carried that with me. My daughter was with me, and it was interesting. We had gone out amongst a bunch of people, and someone said they were talking siblings, and she says, "Yeah, I have an older brother." And I thought, "Okay, what's she going to say next?" And she just let it go. She didn't. No one asked questions, and I thought, "Okay." So I leaned over to her and I go, "So Chris is alive in this dinner?" And she goes, "Yeah." So I feel like getting into it. So you get to choose, which
Yes.
audience you want to entertain that conversation. But I got to be, like that. No one, I like Jackie always said, I didn't have that scarlet letter. No one knew who I was. It was like this
Mhm.
whole new environment, and I didn't fear running into anybody either. So,
Yeah.
but but my point is, we're always processing, and I think
Yes.
as we see those things, and I've learned, and what you said too earlier was, it used to take little things like that would take me out for the day. Now they take me out for the moment. I feel it. It's there, but it just recently passed his anniversary, the 20th,
Mhm.
7 years. So,
Yeah.
the grief is still there, but it changed. My reaction to it is different. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think sometimes maybe there's even this misconception, right? You said it's been 7 years, and a lot of times, a lot of the people, the women that I work with, they're like, "But it's been X amount of time. Why am I still feeling this way?"
mm,
And it's what you were saying. Well, the grief is always going to be there, right?
right,
That's mature grief for the rest of your life. So
right.
actually when I'm working with someone the first 2-3 years, it's like, well, this is early grief, right? And I
Hmm.
always explain it in a way like this is grief, and when it just happened, this
Mm,
is kind of like your life,
right.
right? And it feels like that's the only thing that you can see. With time, the circle on the outside is what grows,
Mm,
right? There's new relationships, new experiences. But the grief, which is this circle, it doesn't change, it stays
mm,
there.
right.
Right.
And different things will like activate that, right? Like your nervous
Mm,
system is just like this reminder of this deep loss that
Right.
oftentimes I mean, and I should say that probably most of the time, like you don't have control over it,
mm.
right? So it's just like it activates that system, and it's that deep pain, right,
Yeah.
that you
And as
experience.
much as you try to push it away with whatever, work,
Yeah.
maybe unhealthy means of, alcohol,
Mhm.
whatever, it's gonna come back. It's
Yeah.
gonna be there. So, and I think one of the wisest things someone had said to me early on, although I was numb, and I couldn't cry for the first 2 months, was feel your feelings. And I thought I was numb, but when the feelings came, boy, yeah, you feel them. There's no going around that. So,
Yeah.
How many moms would you say, like, that you like grieving moms and, that you could say that you've seen? And, like, is it, like, are they just fresh with their
mm,
grief? Is it, like, decided, like, after 10 years is it time to process it, just all over the place?
I feel like it's been all over the place. I don't think there is necessarily, as I think of the women that I've worked with, some of them, and I feel like this could be more of the certain type of personality or even like what happened, right? But some of them come right away. And it's just like, I just know that I need to like get in and talk about this. Um, but oftentimes we end up talking about other things because
Yeah.
it is such a sensitive topic,
mm,
right? That it brings up so many emotions, right? It's this like
Mm,
flooding. So my job really is to just like, hey, let's ground first, right?
mm,
Let's make sure that your system is ready
yeah.
to talk about the hard things. Um, and then yeah, sometimes even I think what the story that comes to mind is like it's been 5 years and we're just now. I mean, I've been working with this individual for 3 years, and we're just now actually getting to talk about, okay, the person that you lost, tell me about them, right? And
Mm,
yeah.
there's this space where they're able to sit with the discomfort that comes from,
mm,
man, this person is not here anymore.
It's
right.
like when I always tell this to moms, like, I think how you handle the grief with the loss of a child, what's also happened before? Like,
Mm,
as you're saying, they come in and there's so much, and this may be the very first time that something traumatic that had happened
Mhm.
long ago comes up. And so, how they handle it, if they haven't processed through that early trauma, it's going to be
mm,
so much larger to then handle something like this, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because it can also activate those old wounds, thing like you were saying, that haven't really been processed.
mm,
Right? And I think that's where I hear a lot of times like that message of like I didn't do enough or I should have done more,
mm,
right? And it might be that that's actually not the first time that that message shows up, but that specific event is just like activating that,
Yeah.
sure.
right? So that's why it just feels like the intensity, right? Not only the loss is like in itself is really difficult to fully process, but there's all these other old wounds that are getting activated.
Mhm, mhm,
But
mhm,
what just happened?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
That's like hard.
and it's the hardest thing to try to. I mean, even if you touch on that wound, it's so painful that you'd rather talk about anything else.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can
Sure.
remember because I've been in therapy with a grief counselor, and when I started feeling my feelings, she'd say, "Okay, let it." I would just she could see me physically go, like almost try to take it back
Mm,
in
yeah.
instead of letting it out. It's just so hard. So yeah,
I'm responding to
yeah,
Kelly
we got
saying year
some
two is
moms.
the worst because numbness and shock was all, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's what it is, right, Maho? It's like the first year you're sort of numb and in shock, and then the second you start, it's almost like you start coming out of like being
Mm,
in a coma, and you come to realization of all this.
Yeah, there's a lot of numbness at first, and that is actually that a way that your nervous system is so wise, right? That it's just like there's so much pain that we need to do something in order
Right.
to still do our day-to-day activities, right? And a lot of times like that part that is trying to numb is just protecting, right? It's just like, hey, we need to get things done. Right. So I
right.
usually invite that numbness as like, you know
Sure.
what has this numbness been doing for you, right?
Mhm,
Can
mhm,
we look at the more kind of like that positive part of it that yes, we'll talk about it and I don't want, them to stay in the
mhm.
numbness, but it has been doing something for them.
Yeah.
But I think
Acknowledging it.
what
Oh,
you said too is so powerful that just acknowledging that it's okay to be numb. I was wondering what
mhm,
was wrong with me again. I couldn't cry,
Because it's
you
part
know?
of it.
Yeah.
It's part of it, and because at first you think, "This is such a new feeling," and they get
Mm,
mhm,
scared,
yeah,
shock.
I'm just like, it's completely different, like, my grandson who just turned 16, just went through a junior military camp. He was like unplugged from his world, plugged back into 24/7 pretty much on the
Mm,
schedule, doing push-ups, doing all this stuff, right? He's in this, and all of a sudden he gets unplugged from there. He goes home and now he's just sitting there
mm,
Mm.
because there's no schedule, there's no agenda. And he's like, Noni, what's wrong? I feel like I'm just staring into space
mm,
when I'm with my kids. And so I'm letting him acknowledge, because the first thing that I thought of is that he's scared. He
mm.
doesn't know what to do with this, but say, it's okay.
Sure.
It's okay. That's why I
Yeah.
tell him you're going to be okay.
Well, and hence, might I remind you, the resurfacing book is named Resurfacing for that reason. We resurface out of that numbness, and now we have to deal with all those emotions. And
Yeah.
I think, just aside, the grieving moms would have showed me, without even having an organization, just being with another grieving mom and saying, I had this happen or I had this happen. They're like, oh, me too. Like, oh gosh, okay, I'm not, like that's normal if there is such a thing. You know what I mean? Like there's certain
Mm.
things that we feel, and then, and only another grieving mom or grieving parent at that moment, sometimes can
Mhm.
react.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and even though, loss, we could lose. It's so unexpected. I just feel, no matter, even if because of a child, you never expect a child, no matter what
Mhm.
age. It's not the sequence of life, right? At some point, your parents, your grandparents, but not ever a child. So that shock is completely, like you said, as unique to a mom,
Hmm.
can be.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's that your body trying to make sense
Mm,
out of it, right? And somehow try to regain a sense of safety
mm,
when in reality, like it's so out of your control. So numbness feels like, well, at least I can
mm.
control that, right? At least I can
Uh,
control not feeling anything,
okay.
right? Which
Mm,
is so fitting. That's
yeah.
why I'm
Yeah.
usually like,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. Numbing, distraction, right? I
Yeah.
feel like distraction is something that I remember when I went through my miscarriage with my husband, we watched I don't know how many comedy movies because I'm like, I cannot keep crying. Like we cried for so long. This
Mm,
is so much that all I can do is watch the same funny movie and laugh
mm,
because I know that the moment it stops, I'll start crying again. So
mm.
it was just this distraction that for me it was protecting me from that deep
Yeah.
pain
Right.
that I was going through.
Well,
Right.
and that's like it probably leads us into, what can you say about, like, so they can identify to say, okay, this is normal. So what physically and mentally can they expect, like from the
Yeah.
get-go, and then chronically?
Yeah. I mean, grief is not just emotional, right? It shows up in the body.
Hmm.
So a lot of times, you might experience fatigue, insomnia, brain fog, hormonal shifts,
Yeah.
right? Loss of appetite, physical pain. Like there is so much going on, and your system is trying to keep you safe. So it's just like, hey, survival, right? What do we need to do? What are the things that are going to keep you alive right now? Right. So that's where your body's overworking mentally and emotionally. There's often anxiety, guilt, right? We were talking about numbness,
Mm,
sadness. There's even panic, right?
mm.
Like I was saying, the nervous system is
Yeah.
trying to survive something that it was never meant to endure, right? At least I think that's what you were talking, even like that
Yeah.
word, right? Like that's
Yeah.
not something that you think about going through, right? So
It's like
it's
the amygdala, right? You're in the space of hyper arousal,
yeah,
I
just
think
constant.
it's like nature's way of protecting you, because I think,
yes,
where I read it, if we felt all those feelings all at once, we'd be on our knees. We couldn't function.
yes,
It's the body's way of
Hmm.
protecting you. So yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And grief can feel like, time is frozen, right? While the rest of the world moves on.
Right.
So yeah, your nervous system is just trying to survive, really.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're right, it's something that our bodies were never meant to
Mm,
experience, and
Hmm.
yet then staying in that, so then everything, like, I remember somebody would slam the door or somebody would drop something, and I was just kinda
mm,
like that. Somebody come around the corner because body's in that protection of, like, fight or flight, constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the, I say like the window of tolerance, right? At times this window is like it's open. Life has highs and lows, and you're able to navigate those highs and lows when you're in the window of tolerance and from a very like
Mm,
grounded place. You can still feel your emotions, but okay, like I'm safe, but when you especially go through this type of loss, your window of tolerance becomes so narrow,
mm,
right? That your nervous system, that's why it's in that state of like hyper, arousal that is more like that fight flight, or the
mm,
hypo, which is
mm.
more the freeze or the fun, right? Just completely
Yeah.
like collapse and submit. So
Right.
that's why I'm usually, the beginning is even like doing a lot of just kind of like education as to like this is what your nervous system is trying to do, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
especially I feel like if we talk about even like the kind of like the Christian community, a lot of times that can be so dismissive as well, right? It's just
Yeah.
like we don't really talk about our nervous system,
Mm,
right? And it doesn't come from a malicious place where we're trying to hurt
Yeah.
someone, right, going through grief, but we just don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Right? So
So
that's
true.
why I love talking about the more of like, hey, this is what your body might be experiencing. This is what your nervous system, right? Just to help give some sort of language to what they're experiencing.
yeah.
Yeah, and that will probably just reduce like that anxiety just immediately just going, okay, like I said, this is normal. I wanted to read Teresa McBride says, I lost my second child
Mm,
14 months after my first. I didn't get the gift of numbness for her. How would you
mm,
explain that, do you think, Maho?
Yeah. I mean, it's it is hard. I mean, in itself, just like the first loss, right? So, um
mm,
there is another part, and it doesn't have to be specifically numbness, but this is where I usually invite curiosity, just like, okay, you know what has helped so far
mhm,
stay or navigate your day to day, whether it's working or not, right? So it
Hmm.
could be that maybe it is that distraction, or it could be, well, I went more into, maybe there's like a hobby or work, or
mm,
so it doesn't necessarily have to be numbness and that's about it, but it could be other parts trying to still protect, but in
yeah.
a very different way.
Yeah. I
Right,
think
and
that's
I just
well,
wanna mention with Teresa too, she was just to imagine, and I'm so sorry, Teresa, that you have to be here in the loss of 2 kids 14 months after one has passed, but, to deal with that, and again, I'm not sure what you were feeling if it wasn't numbness, maybe as we always say here, we were broken, we're broken wide open, so you receive that passing of your second child,
Mhm.
it's completely different. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And then your second comment here, Teresa, though, is I believe God gives us the gift of numbness so we can survive the burial of our children because,
Mm.
and again, it's not a natural thing. We shouldn't have to do that. So,
Yeah.
let me say hi to some from Diane. She's in Australia, and to, of course, Teresa and Adri,
hi,
and
Adri.
Kelly Ann and Jill. Is going up. Christy Ann, Tracy, Terry. Hi, Terry. Tammy, Rose B, Pat. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for including your comments in here. Okay, so this isn't on the list, but don't worry, Maho. I'm not going to put you in a
Mhm.
spot. So, oftentimes we come across these in resurfacing, we have negative coping devices.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it could be a plethora of things:
Yeah.
overworking, overeating, overspending, overexercising. I mean, the list goes on and on to fill, trying to get this blind adjusted, to fill in that space that we don't want to bring ourselves into. Can you
Mm.
talk about the negative coping devices and how that they can substitute without having that as the default, and obviously bringing Jesus into this and what he has for
Yeah.
us?
Mm.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Um,
Thank
I
you, Holy Spirit.
yeah, and I would go back to what is that coping mechanism doing
Mhm.
for this person, right? What is that doing for you? I do believe that all those things that we do to cope with the pain have such a good intention, right?
Mhm.
It's just like there's so much
Yes.
pain that it's like, I physically, right? Emotionally, mentally, and physically, this is too much. So I need to do something
Mhm.
in order to escape this pain. And yes, a lot of times we go into things that, even though the intention is really good, it ends up hurting us even more. So one of the ways that, besides like that curiosity of like, okay, what is this doing for me, and
Mhm.
inviting Jesus, there's this exercise that I tend to do, myself, and also like I give it to my clients, is kind of like interceding for that part of you that has been coping in the
Mhm.
whatever way it's been coping, right? So it might be that it's just like, hey God, I know that you're good, but there is this part of me that is having a really hard
Mhm.
time. Would you come and meet this part in this moment, right? Would
Mhm.
you, would your presence be with this part? And it's okay if there is resistance. I think for me, working with resistance, I usually invite it. I'm actually even like expecting
Mhm.
others
Mhm.
to see that resistance. So it is about inviting, not so much how can I get rid of this,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
Because it is doing something.
So
um
to acknowledge it, discuss it, and show its purpose.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, because again, I think the intention behind those
Yeah.
coping mechanisms, it is such a good
Mhm.
intention. Now, the way to go about it, right? That's what we're trying to more so like give it kind of like a new role, right? Okay, if maybe like, drinking
Mhm.
or overworking, like that is not necessarily like doing it for you. Let's see, like, what else would you do if you didn't do this? What would you do instead? Let's get
Mm.
curious about, hey, what would be another way? Because the
Right.
pain is real,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? So just acknowledging that, starting with that curiosity, I think it's become a really important part. And what I do with my clients a lot at the very beginning.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's interesting you said that. I love that advice, Maho. Is and to give the feeling that is in that moment an actual name.
Hmm.
I feel instead of immediately going to the drink or to the overworking out or the overworking or whatever it is you're doing, before you just go for that, stop and say, okay, what's happening right now? What am
Hmm.
I feeling? Am I angry?
Yeah.
Is it too scary to sit in it? Am I feeling guilty? Am I
Mm.
feeling what am I feeling right now? And
Mhm.
it may
Mhm.
be all of the above. So, but when you take that drink, when you
Mhm.
go and you go back and you stay out and you go back into the office or whatever you do, or you're under eating, I mean, whatever it happens to be,
Mhm.
the moment is over in a moment.
Mm.
And then it's going to come back again.
Mhm.
And you're just going to be in this cycle, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
you gotta change the channel, you know? You can't keep going on the same channel. Change the channel or turn off the TV and do something else, you know?
Yeah.
Seriously. No, I get that. And I think, though, the people come for help, there's an openness there to look and examine that. A lot of times in our groups, we have, we run groups and stuff, and moms will, it's not that they're not that they're not feeling, but they're going to unhealthy coping strategies, and sometimes we're at a loss as to what to say. We're not professionals in the ministry. We're just trying to listen and hear and
Mhm.
see, and hopefully people can begin
That's
to
why we
heal.
brought in the professional.
That's exactly right. That's so we're
Well, but I
glad you said gave us those strategies.
have,
That's right.
yeah, but I have to say that presence is so important,
Yeah,
right? Just knowing I'm not alone,
right,
right? Like someone else is there for me.
for
Like
sure.
that is huge, especially when we're going through grief.
Well, I say that all the time to Jackie, like just knowing someone's a further
Yeah.
along in the road that they can take that next step is
Absolutely.
just it means everything.
Well, and
Yeah.
seeing some of these ladies that are on here that I've either met in person, like Carol,
Mhm.
she's one of our leaders, like are the ones, and so is Diane, and so is Adrian, going through here. But it's these are the women that keep showing up.
Mhm.
Mhm.
These are the ones, if you guys are here, and even if you're not commenting, but you keep showing up, just show up.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just show up and just ask God every day. Like I have been challenging everybody for the month
Mm.
of July to write out Ephesians 6:10 through 18, and just put a stake in the ground with Jesus and say, this is not going to take me down anymore. I
Mhm.
know I still have a plan and a purpose to keep going. And that's why we bring in Majo, and we have me and Lisa come out here. We have our leaders, and we have books that are written and things. And most importantly, God's word to bring in to fill everything it is that you're trying to fill that is broken. Everything you're trying to fill the brokenness with outside of God's word and Jesus is broken, and it's just temporary.
Mhm.
But being
Mhm.
together in a circle, just like we said, just the presence, like you said, Mahos, is the being together in that place of just like, you experience that too? Oh
Mm.
my gosh, I
Mm.
thought it was just me, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like healing, and especially with this, like healing doesn't happen in isolation,
Mm.
right? Like there's so
Amen.
much about being able to know, like a sense of belonging, right? And it happens in connection. Like it's not just me. And something that I think in my own journey, I feel like Jesus has said over and over again is like, I am acquainted with sorrow, right? With
Mm.
grief. And
Yeah.
that has been so comforting because it's just
Mhm.
like, well, I have a God who can relate to my pain, right? And he is near. I think, I love how God prepared my heart, even though it was really hard. But before even like knowing that I was pregnant, Philippians, I think it's 4 verses 6 and 7, I'm pretty sure that it's like rejoice. And I didn't really like that verse before because I was
I
just
know
like,
which one you're talking about.
I'm like, that's just so simple, right? Like just
Uh,
don't be anxious, just rejoice. But then there was this part that it was highlighted, like God highlighted for me, and it's like the Lord is near. And it
Mm.
comes before, like, do not be anxious. So I just remember being like, wait, wait, wait. Like, I had never seen that before. And it became pretty much like one of the passages that I've gone back to through this journey because I need that reminder that God is near, that I'm not alone because I will need that support, not only in the days that maybe that grief is not that heavy, but especially in the days where I'm just like, I just want to cry.
yeah.
Like I just want to lay here and not do anything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that the God, like the Lord is near, has been so impactful in
What
my
would
own.
you say? What would you say? Because so somebody's like, I just want to lay in bed. So how do you know when is it to the point where, okay, this has been too long? Because nobody likes to be told how long that they should. And we said you need to not be isolated. You need to be insulated with Jesus.
Yeah.
But when they say it's like, okay, you know what? I've been in bed for X amount of time. Like, how can
Yeah.
you tell them like when it's too much?
Yeah, man, that's such an important question. Um
Mm.
because yes, like grief and the sadness that you experience navigating grief, it's a natural response to loss.
Mhm.
Right? Now, depression, we start to see, okay, this feels more constant, right? Maybe joy feels distant or impossible, feeling disconnected from everything. And it often includes feelings of worthlessness, self hate, feeling hopeless about everything,
Yeah.
not just the loss,
Mhm.
right? Um, they can sometimes overlap, and I think this is where it becomes a little bit more complicated. But I would say like ongoing hopelessness and numbness.
Mm.
Um, if the loss of interest, even in like your day to day, has been going on for weeks, months, right? That's where it's like, okay, let's start to look more
Mhm.
into that depression side. Um, feeling
Mm.
stuck, thoughts
Yeah.
of wanting to disappear, right? Or not wake up.
Mhm.
Um,
And
Mhm.
have good friends that are going to tell you this.
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah. And even if again, there's going to be days, right? And especially at the beginning, that is like, no, I don't want to get out of bed. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, but maybe a small win, right? Being able to kind of like see what are some of the things that I can still do. And maybe that day, the small win is I got out of bed,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
that's it. Not even I changed, I took a shower, but it was just like I got out of bed, and that felt like a win.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, but I would say ongoing, and it's impacting your day to day, right? Like
Mhm.
it's been months, and now that's like the functioning has really gone down. That's where I would be like, okay, maybe this is moving more into like the depression and not so much just
Yeah.
the grief behind the loss.
Yeah. And it is like there is always the distinction because the D word, depression, is always such a scary thing to be associated with, because that's like clinically, oh no, there's something really wrong with me. But you have to
Mm,
acknowledge that we're going to be sad. We're going to be deeply
yeah.
sad. And then, like you said, and to differentiate that is like, okay, the chronicness, had the longevity of how long that's going to continue to go
Right.
on. I see a
Right.
lot of good comments coming in that we're going to definitely come back and address. Um, how about one more? How about one more? Because I think you guys want to see that Majo comes back, right? We're just going to have her. I talked to
Part
her already about doing this like once a month, or and just we come up with new topics.
That's true. That'd be great. The Maha hour.
Yes. Uh huh.
Maho hour.
Uh huh.
There we go.
Actually, is there? Let me do this instead. Is there something, Majo, that you would like to say to them? Because I don't want to steal away your thunder on something that
Oh,
you really feel Holy Spirit's put on your
Mhm.
heart to share, and then I
yeah.
can ask you a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just the and I see this a lot in like Christian communities that there are some comments, I think cliches, right? That people try to give you, and not from a malicious
Mm,
place, right? But it's because I think, Lisa, you said this, like, we're not, we don't know what grief is, we don't know how to navigate. And especially, we as humans don't do well with discomfort, and
right.
grief is very uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
in the Christian community, we see a lot of times like people wanting to pull us out from the grief, right? It's just like, well, but continue to do this, or well, they're in a better place, or
Mm.
just little comments that you're like, I know you mean well,
Mhm.
right? But that's not what's
Right.
happening now. So I think just even being able to, it's okay to vocalize like you know what, I just need you to listen,
Yeah.
or I just need you to be present. It's okay if you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
um yeah, and then even validating your own experience, right? A lot of times I think we over spiritualize something
Mhm.
instead of just coming to God with our most honest and raw emotions, and just like, God, I don't even know what I'm feeling. I just know that it feels very messy, or I just know that this
Mhm.
is a lot, right? So even if you don't have the words,
Yeah.
just being honest with yourself, with God.
Mhm.
I feel like it's become just something, not only in my journey really healing, but even being able to help others to be like, hey, it's okay, let's just go with your most honest self in front of God, and let's just bring that to him. Like, even if you
Mhm.
don't have the words, maybe it's just like you're weeping, and that's how you go in front of God.
And I've learned, because you said it perfectly, that we have to give people grace. They don't know what to say. They come from a good place. They want us to feel better. My own mother, before she passed, she'd say, "Are you still you're still crying?" I'm like, "Mom, my son died." This is like after she just could not stand to see her daughter sad. So
Mhm.
and I had to give her we would argue because it's my mother, but other people, I mean, I'd be, Mom, but other people, I have to give them grace. They don't know what to say,
Yeah,
and I didn't know what to say to them, and so there are
yeah,
no words. It's the things
yeah,
I remember most when Chris passed are the people that showed up and just hugged me or just sat with me,
yeah,
you didn't have to say anything, made a meal, did whatever you did, because it is such a deep and there are no words,
yeah,
you know, so
yeah.
yeah, but
Mhm.
But I wanted to say too, it's funny because I printed out all the things that I thought spoke to me about grief. And one of the verses from the Bible is, He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, no
Yes.
mourning, crying, or pain. For the old order of things has passed away. I'm like, wow, this Bible has everything about grief. you know, and it
Hmm.
really is, it speaks to me. I used to open the book and find these things and like you said, He's walking with us. He's
And
walking with
you said she said it too. It's like he's very acquainted with sorrow and grief.
Right, right.
He's very
Who
acquainted with it.
I mean, we've
Mm.
heard those words. Maybe I heard them before at a funeral or whatever, but now they're speaking to us or me. Like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, this we could just go on, and funny thing is I don't even smell breaded pork chops being cooking downstairs, so I'm not really sure what's happening. For those of you that are just coming on, my dad and my sister are here, and I put them in charge of breading the pork chops, and as I made mashed potatoes, we're having a real comfort meal, right? Because my daddy's 86. We drug him up the mountain yesterday, and I thought I better feed him because that'll make him happy, right? But I'm like, oh, but I don't smell anything yet. Okay, let's keep talking. No,
Maybe she forgot to put the oven or turn that stove on.
I mean, like I said, my sister is like the musician. I mean, we both played the drums but she's very spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. So she wants to know all the directions. And I'm like, I don't know. It's done when it's done. I don't know. I don't time anything. It's like, aren't you part Sicilian too? Like, I guess you didn't get that gene. I don't know. Anyway, off topic. Okay, let's bring in the one last question, and I think that it's a big one, Maho.
Okay.
Many mothers feel guilt,
Mm.
whether for what they did or they didn't do. So, how do you help them process through that guilt?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a big one.
Great question. Yes. Big one. And I do get that question. Or just like the I feel guilty. I think I hear that a lot. Um,
Mhm.
I always start by acknowledging that guilt is common and is very it is normal in grief, right? It's our brain's way of trying to make sense of something so painful, right? Is
Yeah.
that one thing that is just like I can control this, right? I can't
Mm,
control what happened, but there is this one part that I can still control,
right.
right? So I gently invite moms to ask, um, is this guilt or is this grief speaking,
Mm,
right?
Mm,
And just even like the creating the space to explore where if it is guilt, okay, where is the guilt coming from, right? Is it real or is it rooted in the what ifs? Because a lot of times
mm,
it's actually on like the well, what if I would have done this? What if I would have said this?
yes.
What if? All right. So being able to just sit with it. Again, instead of trying to rush through it or no,
mhm,
it's not your fault, right? It's just like, okay, let's just where is that coming from? Let's slow down and
mhm,
give that part of yourself the space to know and to acknowledge this is a normal part of it. And
mhm.
it is a part that is wanting to control something
Mm,
because
Right.
again, the pain is very deep, right? It is also helpful, I believe, to remind them, that God is not looking at them with blame,
Mhm.
but with compassion, right? Like He knows their heart. He sees the love in their pain.
yeah.
So, and He's not rushing them to feel better, right? And that's where it also helps to remind them, well, He's there sitting with you in it, right? So
Hmm.
to me, a lot of it is just to no, let's create space for that, and that
Hmm.
might take, we can actually sit with it for one session, and someone can be like, okay, yes, we go through the exploration, and you can see where is this coming from, and we do the work. Other times it takes time to even get to that place of
Hmm.
this is where it's coming from. So
Mm,
that's like there is no timeline, but it does start with um, the awareness, the acknowledgement, the space to explore what else is happening there.
Yes.
right.
And yes, and I have said that to the moms. the brain's way of trying to make
Mhm,
sense of it all. And if you give it that narrative and just say, yes, it's because I told them to do this, or I told them to go out to the store,
mhm,
and yet then somebody T-boned my son on a motorcycle. If I had told him not to go to the store to
mhm,
go get something for us for dinner, all those things. However, the one thing that I keep reminding them, like, drop the mic, is that our days are numbered.
mm,
So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what you did or did not do, because the Lord knew when we all are going to take our last breath, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that sums it up and takes away because as and I've said this 1,000 times. My daughter turned to me in during my really what if moments and said, "Mom, you're not that powerful." I mean,
Mm,
you're just not. It was no matter. We didn't want that to happen, but it happened. No matter how your child passed, and yeah, our days are numbered.
She
So
put you in your place, Lisa.
she totally did. She
mm,
schooled me, and I I remind myself of that because it's still it's and I want to say too, it's unique to a mother because you hold that baby and you feel responsible for everything,
mm,
no matter how old they are,
That's right.
mhm.
and so and I get and again that's the unique. Why I think guilt is more of a compelling issue with mothers specifically, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe fathers to a certain degree, but I think mothers very much so.
Mhm.
And and I've learned, and this is something that I've learned to say. Even if
Yeah.
didn't send this, even if I didn't sew to the store, that
Yes.
this would have something was going to happen. It happened. So just free yourself
Yeah.
of guilt, because yeah.
I'm
So
typing in Psalm 139:16, and
Mhm.
I'll just read it, which says, "All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be."
mm,
Mm.
So again,
Oh,
yes, yes, Jen, we're not that powerful.
no.
It's like
yeah.
he came, and that was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's just going back to like that discomfort, right? I think it's
Mm,
really hard for us humans, and especially I think just moms, women, right? It's just like that control aspect a lot of times, right? It's
yeah.
this illusion that we are in control of so
Mm-mm,
much more than what we really are,
right.
right? So it's
Yeah.
just dealing with that discomfort of like, yeah, there
Mm.
I didn't have control
And
over.
it's torture to do that to yourself, to play that over, that rewind the tape and replay it again a
Mhm.
different way, as though the outcome would be any different.
Yeah.
It is what it is. The acceptance of that. I think doing all that, what is it, negotiating, or what do they call that? Arguing, that
Mhm.
bargaining piece. Yeah. That it's torture to a mom. We've had moms doing that over and over, and it's just, I feel that torture, and you have to, like you said, let it go. Just let it go, you know?
Yeah. And just like letting yourself feel, even if you
Mm,
have to be like, this is uncomfortable. I'm like, yes,
uh,
it will be.
mhm,
It will be uncomfortable. So it's more so kind of like the expectation. It's like,
right,
no, it's going to be uncomfortable.
right,
Right. But there is so much power in allowing yourself to
right.
feel those emotions.
And to feel if they do feel it in the groups or with you or with a counselor, to have that be witnessed and acknowledge that it's okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. You made it through that little bump right there, you know?
Hmm.
So,
And our
Yeah.
words are powerful, ladies. As you are watching this, just please, you hear us say this all the time, is that if you say whatever you say is going to come to fruition.
mm,
I am never going to be
mm,
healed. I am never going to feel joy. Well, you are setting yourself up for failure, because again, the Lord God created the heavens and the earth with the power of words. So what those words are that come in, those are the words. You have to wake up every day. You have to say, "Thank you for giving me another day.
mm.
What
I
am
have
I
to
going to do with
I have
it?"
I have to tell a little bit real quick funny story. Is that okay?
Well, you going to say something first, Maho?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm like,
Okay,
go,
okay,
Are
go
you
for it.
okay? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If you were, go ahead, jump in.
go.
Um, going to France, we stayed in my daughter's friend's house and place, and we were in Nice, France, and it was a fifth floor walk up, and there were 8 flights of steps. There was 10 each. And the
Wow.
first time I went up, there's no air conditioning. It's 85 degrees. I went up 4 flights. I sat down on the first step. I started to cry. I can't do this. And my daughter came down, sat with me, and come on, we're going to go up another step. What an analogy for our grief, because I stayed for 2 weeks, and every day I changed the narrative to I can't do this to I can and I will every single step. And I did it every day. And Jackie knows how hard that was for me.
Mm.
And I did it. It's a huge accomplishment. By the end, I was joking around because I would get to the bottom and I just start singing. I was doing the Rocky, you know, all the way up, you know. But by the end, I was like, it was kind of enjoying it, and I was doing it. But to change the narrative to from I can't to I can and I will was made a huge difference. So there you go.
Okay, so that's pretty amazing. So I hadn't talked to Lisa since she's been back from her
Yeah.
trip, and that was the one thing her daughter said,
Mm,
"Mom, you have to climb stairs. There is no elevator to take you up." So great analogy, and
yeah.
that you continue to do it, and you will continue to do it. Yesterday came on to announce that you were coming on tonight here, Maho, and I told you to my dad up on the chairlift, 86 years old, and all he kept saying was, "I'm 86 years old. I can't do this. I can't do this." And it's like, we wouldn't put him in harm's way.
Right.
He could walk. He has an issue with his knee, but it was more of the fear because he was getting a little angry, like at times, not horribly, but he
Mhm.
had a little fear that came out because of that anger, right? And I finally said, "Dad," I go, "Really, what's going on?" He goes, "I'm scared to death," because he was like white knuckling
Oh.
the thing that comes down on the chairlift. And my sister was telling a story, and I said, "I'm pretty sure he hasn't heard one thing that you've said." But the power of words in what we say once again, and that so yesterday what I was telling them, because I did a Facebook Live, and it was all over the place because we had a storm coming in, and they're yelling at me, "Why are you in the middle of the mountain? There's a storm coming in, and I'm
Mm,
just trying to talk to you guys."
mhm,
And so I said, "What can you do this week, this month that's different?" Like you said earlier, Maho, if it's a challenge of getting out of bed one day and brushing your teeth, if it's taking a walk around your neighborhood, if it's accepting an invitation to go out to lunch with somebody, if it's
Yeah.
accepting an invitation, to start a class or to climb, 8 flights of steps
mhm,
to the top of your hotel room, whatever, because our bodies have so much capability to do things, but it's our mind that
mm,
tells us differently. Right, Maho?
Yeah, I actually this year I read this book. It's called Soundtracks, and it's just that idea that we all have this like song, right? The soundtrack playing in our minds. And there was one question that really like it hit me so hard. I love sports, played in college, so I feel like I've always been like an athlete. And the
mm,
question was, what would happen if you would cheer for yourself as loudly as you cheer for your favorite team? And I was like, ah, I can be so hard on myself.
mm,
That question right there, I wrote it down pretty much everywhere where I can see it,
mhm,
because it does help me like to
yeah,
actually give myself so much more grace, because even if
right,
my team loses, I love soccer, and I'm like, even if my team loses, I'll still cheer for them. Am I going to be sad and upset? 100%. But I'm still going to cheer for them. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to do that for myself. So that
right.
question has helped me to rewire, just like, no, how I talk to myself about myself has a lot of power in what I do in life.
I
Mm,
love that. Okay, so ladies, if you're coming to the retreat, those of you that signed up, when you go and listen to Maho speak, you're gonna walk in and you're going to have something that you're gonna announce to her what you accomplished, and she's gonna cheer really loud, like she'd be cheering for her best team, and you're gonna cheer alongside with her.
there you go.
Okay?
That'd be
But
great.
Yes.
I love, love, love that because you're
Mm,
right. Because I always say, even too, it's like when we go to the mirror, what's the first thing we do? We look at the mirror to fix something.
Yeah.
We're so hard on ourselves. You guys lost a child. You have lost 2. You have lost 3. God bless you, ladies that have lost multiple
Yeah.
children. Give yourself a break. Stop beating yourself up one
Right.
day at a time. That's why, don't you know that's why God gave them the Israelites the manna? It was daily manna.
Mm.
Daily manna. That's he didn't give them any more, any less.
Yeah.
He's like, this is what you need for today. Just take note of that, okay? What
Mhm.
accomplishment can you do tomorrow that you feel like you could never do? So you say, tomorrow, this, and you fill in the blank. I am going to do this, right?
Mhm.
You fill in the blank what that is. And then you can even ask your husband, your other children, or your friends, coworkers, you need to cheer with me, alongside me when I accomplish this, because this is a big deal.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I also I talk to my son. I say this like, Chris, what would you want me to do today? How can I honor you? Let me do something and get outside of my comfort zone. Like
That's beautiful.
he would want me to do something. So, I heard his voice. Come on, mom, get up those steps.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Because they
that.
don't want you to, when I get up there, he doesn't want me to, say I was sitting in the same chair for 10 years. He wants to see that I did climb the
Mm.
steps and went to France and did things. As hard as it is without him, you put the one foot in front of the other. So,
Mm.
Well,
Love.
and
mm.
I have to say that, well, first of all, I'm smelling pork chops now, and it's smelling a
Uh-oh.
little. It's actually it might be that they're I don't know. I'm
Mm.
not I'm not going to speak this, but I think they're smelling great. They're not burning.
Okay.
Uh, but this has been amazing. I love, love, love this, Maho, Lisa. This is just so great. I feel like we again could talk forever. We've been on for an hour, but I just want to say thank
Wow.
you so much. And we're going to talk because we can do this. And I'm going to let you. Uh, did you want to tell them about, or do you want to wait to tell them about opportunities with you? Do you want to wait to get something assembled for that?
Yes, maybe next time we can talk more about that
Okay,
and have a little bit more time with that. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, I
Yep.
witnessed it. She said the next time. I heard it.
Okay. That's beautiful,
Well,
that's
this is
beautiful.
great.
And
I
I wanna
enjoyed it
say
a lot.
thank you to Stacy for finding Maho, because Stacy is, like, an amazing, she works with the ministry. She does everything for the ministry.
Yeah.
She's like your first impression that you get when you get on the website and everything, and so she goes, "I'm gonna look for people that can help us at the retreat." She found Maho, and Maho and I have been, like, hit and miss because we're like, "Oh, we got plenty of time," and here it is gonna be October before you know it.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanna say thank you to Jill for your comment that you're putting on here. Thank you for being here, Kellyanne and Diane and Karen White. Went to
Mm.
Six Flags with her grandkids.
Oh,
Loved it. Susan Wright, how are you? Nice to see you out there. And Lisa and Teresa and Colleen and Carol, of course, Christy, Tammy, and I think I've mentioned some of the other names, but God bless you guys for all
mhm.
being here. And hi, Alberta.
Hmm.
And so we will look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday for
Hmm.
Hope After the Landslide. And in the meantime, I'm going to work out what God wants us to do with Maho. She's a blessing and a gift. So thank you, Lord, for that in advance. Um, Again, God bless each and every one of you. And you're going to be
Gonna be
okay.
okay.
You guys are going to be okay. I promise you that. All
Hmm.
right. God bless you. Tthank you, girls.
Thank you.
Bye.